Hello, there is a man who, using a series of cunning methods, rose from being a lowly soldier to becoming Mexico's most notorious drug lord. In 2014, he made it onto Forbes' billionaire list, ranking 41st among the world's most powerful people. Despite being constantly hunted, he was captured twice, but miraculously escaped both times. Today, we will delve into the story of this Mexican drug lord, Joaquin Guzmán. The story begins in Sinaloa, a state located in northwestern Mexico, one of the country's 31 states, bordering the Gulf of California. To the northeast of the state is a city named Badiraguato. The climate here is diverse, ranging from hot, arid highlands to snow-covered forests, with temperature differences between regions reaching up to 50 degrees Celsius. Badiraguato is dubbed the cradle of Mexican drug lords, known for producing many infamous smugglers. On April 4, 1957, Joaquin Guzmán Lora was born into a poor farming family in Badiraguato. Guzmán's family had many siblings, and his hometown had vast agricultural lands. Most people here made a living by growing poppy plants. Guzmán's father was one of these poppy farmers. However, the family still faced difficult living conditions. Some of Guzmán's siblings died from illness and starvation. When Guzmán was in 3rd grade, due to the family not having enough money to pay for school, he had to drop out and sell oranges to earn a living. In 1972, at the age of 15, Guzmán started cultivating marijuana under his father's guidance. Later, due to conflicts with his father, Guzmán was kicked out of the house. He had to move in with his grandfather. Standing at a modest height of 1.68 meters, Guzmán was nicknamed El Chapo, meaning shorty. Guzmán did not want to live an ordinary life. From a young age, he had a burning desire to make something big of himself. Guzmán had an uncle named Pedro Avalos P.A. Rez, who was very skilled. He was the first drug lord to use airplanes to transport drugs into the U.S. Guzmán often asked questions and learned from his uncle, acquiring valuable knowledge about drug trafficking. Exposed to the underworld from a young age, Guzmán gradually nurtured the idea of becoming rich through illicit means. He no longer wanted to live in poverty and decided to boldly venture into drug trafficking. Guzmán began following a drug lord named Hector Luis Palma Salazar. Quickly, Guzmán was tasked with transporting a shipment to the U.S.-Mexico border. This was the first time Guzmán's took on a drug transportation task. Guzmán understood the law of the jungle. The gentle horse would be ridden. The gentle person would be bullied, so he used all kinds of ruthless methods to achieve his goals. During transportation, if someone leaked information, Guzmán would ruthlessly eliminate them. On the other hand, those who obeyed orders and completed missions were handsomely rewarded. Thanks to his cunning and ruthlessness, Guzmán excelled at his tasks. Sometime later, he even actively requested the drug lord to increase the quantity of the transported goods. At that time, anyone who knew Guzmán knew that those daring to deceive or collaborate with his rivals would meet a tragic end. The largest drug trafficking organization in Mexico at that time was the Guadalajara Cartel, led by Felix Gallardo. Gallardo later assigned Guzmán the task of managing all drug transportation routes for the cartel from Colombia to Mexico, including land, air, and sea routes. In the 1980s, Mexican drug gangs began covert smuggling activities along the border. They continuously smuggled drugs from Mexico into the U.S., causing great frustration to the U.S. government. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, a law enforcement agency under the U.S. Department of Justice, dedicated to dealing with drug trafficking and illegal drug use within the country, planted an undercover agent named Enrique Camarena Salazar into the Guadalajara Cartel in Mexico. Agent Camarena successfully infiltrated the cartel's inner circle and gained the trust of Felix Gallardo. In November 1984, Agent Camarena recklessly sent intelligence to the DEA. The Mexican military suddenly raided a large marijuana plantation of the Guadalajara Cartel. Gallardo was furious over the betrayal of his subordinate. 3 months later, he had his men locate and brutally murder Agent Camarena. Gallardo's bold action shocked the U.S. government. They pressured Mexico to arrest those involved. Since that time, Gallardo began to lead a reclusive life. During this period, the Guadalajara cartel fell into chaos due to power struggles. Guzmán seized this opportunity to take over the drug transportation routes and recruit more loyal henchmen. In 1989, Gallardo was arrested in a joint operation by the U.S. and Mexico, leading to the official disbandment of the Guadalajara cartel. Even from prison, Gallardo managed to run his gang remotely and proceeded to fragment the organization. Woodman, along with Hector Luis Palma Salazar and Ismael El Mayo Zambada, established the Sinaloa Cartel, controlling the U.S. Mexico border area and continuing to spread crime to this day. To expand his drug trafficking operations, Woodman bought numerous properties across Mexico to stash drugs, weapons, and cash. He even dug a tunnel through the U.S.-Mexico border, complete with a railway to transport goods into the U.S. Furthermore, Woodman opened a chili processing plant to hide drugs in chili cans. He bribed border inspectors to ensure these cans could be easily transported by train to the U.S. Occasionally, Woodman took the risky step of using airplanes to transport drugs. With this bold business model, the Sinaloa Cartel under Woodman's leadership quickly grew into one of Mexico's largest drug trafficking organizations. That same year, Woodman's gang conflicted with another Mexican drug cartel, the Tijuana Cartel, founded by the Arellano Felix brothers after the Guadalajara Cartel disbanded. Despite his confidence, Woodman wanted to resolve the conflict peacefully. He sent an emissary to negotiate with the Tijuana Cartel. Unexpectedly, the Tijuana Cartel brutally killed Woodman's envoy and his family. The situation escalated further when the Tijuana Cartel sent another drug lord, Anandic Rafael Clavel Moreno, to approach the wife of Hector, Luis Palma Salazar, one of the founders of the Sinaloa Cartel. That year, Palma was 40 years old and had 2 children. Ndic successfully seduced Palma's wife, who then withdrew $7 million from her husband's bank account. She did as Ndic directed. After succeeding, she took her 2 young children to a lodge to escape with Ndic. However, Ndic heartlessly killed her at the lodge, packing her decapitated head in a box and sending it to Palma. A few days later, Palma's 2 young children were thrown off a bridge. In the Mexican drug trafficking world, there is an unwritten rule: no matter the purge, one must not harm the family of opponents. The Tijuana Cartel's actions outraged many, including Woodman, Palma's closest ally. Woodman was determined to seek revenge. He began planning the destruction of the Tijuana Cartel. Ain Dick Rafael Clavel Moreno was imprisoned for killing Palma's wife. Woodman and Palma sent people into the prison to eliminate him. However, the conflict did not end there. In 1992, the Tijuana Cartel kidnapped 6 of Woodman's associates and forced them to reveal his hideout. They then orchestrated a bomb attack to assassinate Woodman, but failed. Naturally, Woodman knew everything and, with his ruthless nature, could not sit idle. He planned a series of violent attacks on high-ranking members of the Tijuana Cartel, causing many casualties. These severe incidents prompted the Mexican police to intervene. They formed a task force to investigate. However, through bribery and alienating local officials, Woodman successfully silenced them. The investigation targeting him was swiftly canceled. Due to the escalating conflict, both cartels were involved in continuous gunfights and assassinations. The half-year-long war claimed many lives on both sides, though high-ranking figures remained safe. In May 1993, the Tijuana Cartel learned that Woodman was at the Guadalajara International Airport. They immediately sent 20 assassins to eliminate him. However, they mistakenly targeted the wrong vehicle. When a gray car passed by, they opened fire, killing everyone inside. It was later discovered that the victims were not Woodman, but Juan Jesus Posadas Ocampo, a cardinal of the Mexican Catholic Church. Cardinal Ocampo was shot 14 times, and 6 companions also died. Although not in the car, Woodman was indeed at the airport. Hearing the gunfire, he realized he was under attack. With the support of his subordinates, Woodman escaped to a safe place. Mexico, a Catholic nation with 89% of the population following the faith, was deeply affected by the incident. The death of Hong Nungi Ocampo shocked the entire nation. Although he did not act directly, Goodman indirectly caused the incident. He is under intense pursuit by the Mexican government, with a reward of up to $5 million, approximately 126 billion VND, at the current exchange rate, for anyone providing information leading to his arrest. Goodman's image and information have been widely publicized across various media outlets, making him the most wanted criminal in Mexico. After the incident, Goodman knew he had to leave Mexico to seek refuge. Before fleeing, he went to Mexico City to meet an old friend. Goodman gave this friend $200 million and asked him to take care of his family. Goodman then left Mexico for Guatemala, a neighboring country, and bribed a local official with $1.2 million to secure asylum. However, the local official betrayed his promise, reported to the Mexican government, and claimed the reward. In June 1993, Goodman was arrested in Guatemala and extradited to Mexico 2 days later. He was sentenced to 20 years and 9 months in prison for drug trafficking and bribery. Goodman was held at the Antio Pilano prison, a heavily guarded facility in Amolosa de Jerez, Mexico, which can house 1,000 inmates. At the time of Goodman's arrest, the drug cartel he established had become the largest in Mexico, almost monopolizing most drug trafficking routes across the US-Mexico border. Goodman was very adept at managing his subordinates. He cherished them, and many remained loyal even after he was imprisoned. They frequently visited and brought large sums of cash to Goodman, Every month, Guzmán spent a significant amount of money to bribe the warden and guards, turning them into allies. Of course, there were some honest guards who did not succumb to the bribes, yet they did not report Guzmán's actions. Guzmán's cell was akin to a private castle. Apart from restricted freedom, he could comfortably host parties and entertain himself within the prison. He continued to manage his cartel remotely and directed his subordinates' activities. In truth, Guzmán had no desire to escape because once outside, he would face intense pursuit from both the police and his enemies. Instead of living a life on the run, Guzmán chose to enjoy life within the prison. Moreover, he had the chance to get his sentence reduced. Gradually, with his excellent understanding of human psychology, Guzmán persuaded almost everyone in prison. He knew each person's weakness and gave them what they needed. Soon after, Guzmán became the underground boss within the prison. He even had a private lover and controlled some of the guards. During Guzmán's imprisonment, his trusted ally named Panama was also arrested and detained in the same prison. However, Panama was later extradited to the US in 2001, 8 years after Guzmán's capture. Due to his cartel's continuous smuggling of drugs into the US, the American government sent officials to Mexico to request Guzmán's extradition to the US. For trial, Guzmán knew clearly that once in the US, he would not have a moment of peace. Rather than waiting to be caught, Guzmán decided to take a risk, and the idea of escaping began to take shape in his mind. Although Guzmán regularly bribed the warden and prison guards, they only accommodated him in minor matters, never daring to assist in an escape. Guzmán approached a fellow inmate named Xavier Camero. Every evening, Xavier pushed a cart full of dirty bed sheets and covers from the cells out for laundry. Guzmán bribed Xavier to hide him in the laundry cart and take him out of the prison. The prison was equipped with many surveillance cameras for security purposes. Guzmán had bribed some guards to turn off specific crucial cameras at the time of his planned escape. Before the escape plan was executed, almost all the prisoners in Guzmán's section knew about his escape plan, but they pretended not to know anything. On Friday, January 19, 2001, Guzmán began his escape plan. That evening, according to plan, Xavier pushed the laundry cart to Guzmán's cell. Guzmán quickly hid in the laundry cart among the dirty bed sheets. Thanks to his small stature, he could easily conceal himself without being detected. Naturally, even if someone saw, they would pretend not to notice. Xavier then casually pushed the cart containing Guzmán out of the prison. This was the first time in Xavier's life he did something so bold, making him nervous with his heart pounding. Along the way, Xavier encountered several other guards, but no one seemed to notice anything unusual. The plan went off perfectly. Guzmán escaped from prison. He took a pre-arranged car and quickly fled. Guzmán's breakout caused chaos for the Mexican authorities. They launched a comprehensive investigation at Altiplano prison. Eventually, they discovered that up to 78 people had been bribed by Guzmán. Among them, at least 15 prison guards had facilitated his escape. Moreover, some local police officers were also bribed. They deliberately delayed the manhunt for Guzmán, allowing him to evade capture. It is estimated that Guzmán spent over $2.5 million about 63 billion VND at the current exchange rate, to bribe officials and prison guards, aiding in his successful prison break. After his escape, Guzmán vanished from the world. Rumor has it that he fled to a remote mountainous region where locals grow opium. The farmers there are very wary of strangers. They would immediately resort to violence if anything seemed amiss. This made it an ideal hideout for Guzmán. It is said that Guzmán has a private army with at least 300 armed men protecting him. They constantly patrol and scour the hilly forests. If they spot anyone suspicious, they provide cover for Guzmán to escape. They even have orders to shoot down any aircraft flying over the area. Guzmán moves like a phantom, and no one knows his exact whereabouts. When dining out, Guzmán's bodyguards confiscate everyone's phones. After dining, they pay the entire bill and return the phones to the patrons. During this time, the Mexican police made several ambushes at places he might visit, but to no avail. It seemed as if Guzmán could predict every police action, always staying one step ahead. Guzmán escaped just before the police arrived. In his bid to expand his power, Guzmán established a vast drug trafficking network by sea, land, and air spanning across Mexico. By February 2014, after living on the run for 13 years, Guzmán had become infamous worldwide. He was considered the greatest drug lord of all time. Guzmán was listed by Interpol as one of the world's most wanted criminals. The Mexican authorities received information that Guzmán would visit his daughter at a safe house in the seaside city of Mazatlan. They immediately launched a large-scale manhunt involving both Navy and Army forces. At 6:40 a.m., Guzmán was captured at a house. That afternoon, Guzmán was taken to Mexico City International Airport. Many reporters were present after receiving the news. Guzmán was then escorted onto a Black Hawk helicopter and transported to Federal Social Readaptation Center No. 1, a high-security federal prison on the outskirts of Mexico City. This is one of the most heavily guarded prisons in Mexico, located in an isolated area. To get inside, one must pass through 15 security gates, with each gate only opening after the previous one has closed. The prison is equipped with dense camera surveillance both inside and outside. Numerous armed guards continually patrol the area. After being captured, Guzmán was held in an isolated cell with the highest security level. His cell was very narrow and sparse, containing only a single bed against the wall, a sink, and a toilet. A surveillance camera was installed in the cell, monitoring Guzmán's every activity 24/7. To provide a bit of privacy, a small shield was installed near the toilet. Due to his past escape, Guzmán was under very strict supervision. He was not permitted to join outdoor activities, communicate with other inmates, or contact his family. Guzmán was only allowed to $48 a month to purchase necessities. He had 1 hour daily for outdoor exercise. Meanwhile, the U.S. government continued to pressure Mexico to extradite Guzmán for trial, but Mexico refused. However, no one could have anticipated that even while being held in such a high security prison, Guzmán would plan another spectacular escape. Over a year after his capture, on the evening of Saturday, July 11, 2015, the guards were on their usual duty of monitoring the inmates via surveillance cameras. The time displayed on the screen was 8:43 p.m. Goodman was lying on his bed, occasionally watching TV or sleeping. Everything seemed normal. 7 minutes later, Goodman pulled off his blanket, got out of bed, and walked to the toilet. He then walked around the cell for a while, before approaching the toilet again, bending down as if examining something. Subsequently, Goodman returned to his bed and changed clothes. At 8:12 p.m., Goodman sat down on the toilet and took the towel hanging on the partition. By 9:17 p.m., Goodman had been off the surveillance camera screen for 25 minutes. Sensing something unusual, the prison guards immediately went to Goodman's cell to check. They opened the cell door and were silent at the sight before them. Under the toilet was a large hole with a diameter of 50 cm. Next to the mouth of the hole was a concrete slab, and at the bottom was a 10-meter-long ladder leading down to a tunnel. The tunnel was 1.7 meters high and 75 suwam wide, equipped with full lighting, sturdy construction materials, and many other necessary items. A motorcycle was also found inside the tunnel, believed to be used for transporting construction materials. The tunnel was about 1.5 kilometers long, leading to an abandoned house, empty inside, with sand and many other items scattered on the ground. At the entrance of the tunnel, a hand-pulled cart was found, which was used to transport soil and rocks. It is estimated that this was a large-scale underground construction project, requiring a lot of time and effort to complete. Clearly, Goodman had received outside assistance. According to the investigation, after Goodman was captured, his family secretly planned his rescue. Realizing that the prison was heavily guarded, they bribed a guard, asking him to smuggle in a wristwatch with a GPS device to Goodman, thereby determining his exact detention location. Subsequently, they purchased a piece of land near the prison and built a house on it. Since the area was under construction, the frequent transportation of soil and machinery did not raise any suspicions. To ensure Goodman could move easily within the tunnel, they designed the height of the tunnel to be 1.7 meters, just enough for him to walk comfortably. During the tunnel excavation, Goodman could hear the noise from below. Naturally, patrolling prison guards could also hear strange noises, but they had been bribed by Goodman and turned a blind eye. After a year of living and digging, the tunnel was finally completed. Immediately after discovering Goodman's escape, the entire prison was locked down, and no one was allowed to enter or leave. A team was dispatched to search for Goodman from the air. The Mexican government also ordered control of train stations, airports, and ports to prevent him from escaping abroad. Goodman's second spectacular prison break shocked the world. Many began to doubt the capabilities of the Mexican government. 2 days after the escape, Goodman was still missing. The Mexican government launched a large-scale purge within its agencies. Many corrupt officials were arrested and prosecuted. In a press conference, the Mexican government announced a $3.8 million reward for anyone providing information leading to Goodman's capture. After 2 spectacular escapes, Goodman became even more arrogant and daring. In 2012, Kate Del Castillo, a famous Mexican actress, wrote a letter expressing her admiration for Goodman. Upon learning of this, Goodman contacted Kate. He wanted to make a film about his life. American actor Sean Penn. After hearing about this story from friends, traveled to Mexico several times to meet Guzmán. Both wanted to interview Guzmán, and he agreed. In October 2015, Kate and Sean had a 7-hour meeting with Guzmán at a secret hideout. The Mexican government discovered the meeting and unexpectedly raided Guzmán's hideout. However, Guzmán anticipated this move and fortunately escaped once again. After the high-profile meeting, Guzmán's whereabouts were exposed. The following month, Mexico and the U.S. cooperated to launch Operation Black Swan, mobilizing Mexico's elite Marine Corps Special Forces, Mexican Army, and federal police to capture Guzmán. They surrounded the Sinaloa Cartel's hideout in Los Mochis, a coastal city in northern Sinaloa, and engaged in a fierce gunfight. Guzmán once again tried to escape through a 1.5 kilometer long secret tunnel. He hijacked a car near the tunnel entrance and drove south for 20 km before being intercepted by 4 Special Forces members. Cornered, Guzmán tried to bribe the police officers with a large sum of money, but failed this time. According to news reports, 40 heavily armed drug traffickers were on their way to rescue Guzmán. The Special Forces immediately moved Guzmán to a nearby motel to await reinforcements. Shortly after that, Guzmán was escorted away by 11 Marine units. In the Black Swan campaign, 5 criminals were eliminated, 6 were captured, and 1 Marine was injured. After Guzmán was apprehended, the President of Mexico held a press conference to announce the good news. Many countries also sent congratulations to Mexico. On January 19, 2017, Guzmán was extradited to the United States. He was held in the most heavily guarded area of the Metropolitan Detention Center in Manhattan, New York, under 24/7's strict surveillance by armed forces. From November 5, 2018, Guzmán's trial took place at the federal court in New York. He was charged with 10 counts, including drug trafficking, illegal possession of firearms, money laundering, and jailbreak. The identities of the jurors were kept confidential to ensure safety. After deliberation, the jury delivered its verdict. Due to his role as the Queen El Chapo, Guzmán was sentenced to life imprisonment, plus an additional 30 years, along with the confiscation of all his assets worth $12.6 billion, approximately 318 trillion VND at current exchange rates. Guzmán was sent to ADX Florence prison to serve his sentence. Located in Florence, Colorado, ADX Florence is the most secure federal prison in the United States. As of now, ADX Florence houses approximately 336 inmates. Each inmate is held in an isolated cell and is not allowed to communicate with others. The walls of the cells are made of dense reinforced concrete, designed to prevent any possibility of escape by tunneling. Inmates are only allowed out of their cells for 1 hour a day for exercise. The entire prison area is monitored 24/7 by armed guards. Guzmán, born into a poor family, rose to become the kingpin of a colossal drug empire, spreading crime across the globe and wrecking countless families. Now, he is paying for his crimes in the most secure prison in the United States, where no one has ever successfully escaped. Guzmán will spend the rest of his life in solitude and disgrace. Today's video ends here, and we'll see you in the next videos.